Hello, this is Subatomic Mouse from the Nuclear Mouse House, and this is my first installment of something I'm going to call Crafty Mice. We're going to be making things, and I hope to make it weekly. So let's start out at the beginning here. I started streaming a couple months ago with a friend of mine. We've been streaming ever since. We started with the Xbox and just streaming on there. The Xbox is off to my side over here, so I look that way. We started the Xbox and we were able to just get on there and start streaming, but there's no camera, and people would pop in and say, hey, we like the gameplay, and or man, you guys are trash and stuff like that. People do, and they say what they want. And then we got the idea, well, maybe we should use a camera. We've noticed people on Mixer since we started using Mixer, and they have cameras set up. So we went and invested in a couple of cameras, cheap little cameras from our little chain stores here. And we plugged it in, and boom, now we had an image in that spot where there would be the chat box, and then there would be a camera. So we set them up, and we were thinking, yeah, that's great. All right, now we've got a decent setup here. But then we started noticing that these fancy places online on Mixer have all kinds of fancy bells and whistles. But we were getting ahead of ourselves because we didn't have a stream set up the way we wanted it. I mean, there's a lot goes into setting up a stream. Not only was the camera image dark, it was really hard to work with. We had to try to get the camera to. I was basically glowing blue when I first started doing this. So we got together and started brainstorming ideas. And one of the ideas I came up with, I said, well, I knew about this lighting that we were doing since I was in yearbook staff, and I had gone and taken Photoshop lessons to take care of images. So I started learning about photography, and then I started learning about the lighting for photography using reflectors, diffusers, different arrays of flashes, maybe just straight lighting that would make the area have a nice soft glow, or to get rid of some of the flares. Like you look at the posters behind me, poster behind me back here has a little bit of a flare there because the image is shiny and it was kind of broken up a little bit. So this first installment is going to be to show you how you can, with just a few bucks, go and make these fancy diffuser lamps for your setup. Now in the back, I have some posters hanging. They are at the edges of there's the border. You can see my hand on here, and there's a border there. I have a green screen behind it. And the green screen, I use that when I'm using Streamlabs OBS. But when I'm using Lightstream, the green screen effect isn't there. They don't have that. And I talked to the guys from Lightstream, and they said, well, we're tweaking the green screen Chromakey part of it, and it won't be there until there's another update to Lightstream. Of course, who knows when that's going to be. So I'm basically having to switch from one to the other. So if I want green screen, I'll take my posters down and use the green screen with Streamlabs OBS. If I want to use the setup the way it is, then I can use Lightstream, and it's much easier for me because I don't lose that. The issue with mine is that when I use Streamlabs OBS and try to play a game like Fortnite, the in-game chat is gone. I have to use the Xbox Live chat to communicate with everybody, and that's a hassle when you try to get everybody. First, you try to get everybody in the lobby to play, and then you have to get everybody into the Xbox Live chat. So I'd like to find an easier way to do that. So I just mostly use Lightstream so I can continue to chat with everybody and still have my stream going. So let's start. I went to one of the chain stores, and I bought myself a $3 lamp. This $3 lamp is just made of wood, plastic. There's a plastic housing up here for this. I have it unplugged, so it's not going to have any juice to it. Be safe. Don't mess around with this stuff if you don't know what you're doing. I know that lampshades go on the tops of these. They just fit. There's a ring that fits over the top, and so this is built so to do that. But if you crack the housing, doing the next step, taking some of this wire from the chain stores, it's a wire that they use for fencing. They call it guide wire. It's a little bit thicker than a coat hanger wire. It's bendable. You'll need pliers to bend the tip so that you can get it to be a nice round shape. So I cut 15 inches of this off. I cut off 15 inches, and at the end, I made a loop. I fashioned the loop as round as I could, and I would place it on here, make sure that it fit. And if I saw any gaps somewhere, I used my pliers to mess with the gaps so that the gaps were, they flatten the gaps and it makes it nice and round and fit perfectly on this. I made a 4-inch, I measured 4 inches from the center of the base out here, and I made a 90-degree angle, I mean a 45-degree angle bend in it. And this is to keep a gap between the diffuser, which I'm going to put on here, and the base of the lamp. You want to have a gap because light bulbs that go on these generate heat. Almost all light bulbs will. And I'm using a different bulb setup the way I have it. The bulb setup I'm using is an LED bulb. This looks like an incandescent. This is not an incandescent. Don't make the mistake of putting an incandescent on this build. This build is not made for an incandescent because the incandescent bulbs, after a few minutes, they get so hot that when you touch it, you could blister your fingers. You don't want to do that. Don't cause yourself that kind of problem. I went out and bought LED bulbs that look like incandescents. This one only pulls 4 watts. It's not a, it doesn't pull enough watts to make it super hot. This could be running all day and I could still, touch it with my hand and nothing's going to happen. It'll be warm and this base will be hot. This ceramic part gets the hottest right here. You don't want to be touching that when you pull the bulb out. It will burn. But the rest of this pulls only 4 watts and it remains relatively cool, like warmish, lukewarm, and you can undo it when you want. The reason I picked this bulb is for safety. I don't want to start a fire. You don't want to start one either. And going back to this, I don't squeeze the pliers around this so that I can make it fit right. I take it off when I see the gap. I mark it or something or hold onto it with my hand and then bend it here. If you break this housing, this is a metal conductor. You put that metal conductor on there, the next time you try to start up this lamp, zap, you're going to get zapped. Don't do it. Form it separately so that you're not going to, electrocute yourself. Safety first. Please exercise extreme caution when you're doing anything with electricity. I just made this ring. If you look at the lampshades, they're made with metal rings because you're like, well, why am I supposed to use a metal one then if, it's all it's going to do is conduct electricity? Well, the metal lampshades, the lampshades that have a cover have a metal prong, a metal circle that goes on here too, just like this one. Now the last step in this, so I'll put this back on. Is it the right way? Let's see if I go through it like that. No, it's not going to like that. So I got to turn it this way. All right. You'll see why I did that in a second. Okay, so now it's on there. There's the gap. There's the bulb. Well, I'll put the bulb in last. The last part of this is to get a pie plate. This pie plate or a little foam plate, you can get them at your picnic section in whatever store you want. They'll need your, everything 99 penny store or one of your chain stores that has all this stuff wall-to-wall places. Okay, so you got this foam plate, and this foam plate is not completely opaque. It does let some light through, and that's the thing. The thinner this plate's going to be, you get the cheap plates. They could be round or they could be this shape. I chose this shape just because it was laying in my cupboard, and I figured out a way to make it sit right on here. And the way that happens is I have a hole in it right there and a gap and one of this little cut right here. Okay, that's important. On the other side, it's just the hole. So I slide this in to the hole on one side, make it go all the way through to the other side, go in there, and that little cut there on the side is a kind of guide. It clicks it in place, and now the foam plate doesn't move. It won't move. It won't fall over. It won't. The air conditioning isn't going to knock it over. And now the last step is to put my bulb in. And I won't plug it in, but I've got a lamp set up there right now, and it's giving me the light that I'm using. It's the light. If you have some, complexion problems with oil and things like that, the bulb is just bare, you'll have a flare on that shiny spot on your nose or your cheekbones or your head, and your background is going to have a flare on it. I was noticing that when I was doing this with the green screen, the green screen had a flare on it when I was using a normal lamp. And lampshades are good for diffusing light. That's what they're made for. They diffuse the light, make it a little bit, cozier, They project light up to the ceiling because they're not covered on top most of the time. And that bounces light off the ceiling instead of making it come straight at you. You don't want it to come straight at you. So this right here is a simple setup. It costs around, was it $3 for this, about another $4 for this, and about $1 for the pie plates. And the bulbs, a 4-pack of basic LED bulbs that didn't do anything except light up. There's fancy ones out there that are, three-way, or they're made for maximum brightness. You don't want the brighter ones. This is a 40-watt replacement bulb. It just takes 4 watts to run. That box costs, let's see. Yeah, that box was like $4. So I went and I said 4, and 3, and no, it's 12. It's about $12. So for $12, I have this kind of setup, and this actually works pretty good. You could also find that like a transparent. Maybe you could find different colored plates, or you could find something that will paint the foam plate lightly so that the light will still go through, but now it'll project green or red or maybe blue, whatever color you want to color these. Maybe you want your logo to stand out, so you put your logo on there, and it's really kind of cool. So in all, we have the diffuser lamp, which is comparable to some of those fancier ones that you buy with the Chromakey screens that are on the market. There's a particular Chromakey screen I want. It costs around $180, but I don't have $180. So, and that's not including the lamp system that goes with this. So I'm making the lamp system myself for just a few bucks, and I'll show you a tutorial later on how to make the green screen so that you are able to produce your own. All we want is to make it easier for anybody to start green screening, to do their stream, to make sure that you look professional and have as good an experience as anybody else on the stream. So with that, I'm Subatomic Mouse, your host for this part of Crafty Mice. The Nuclear Mouse House is right here. And I'm signing off. I'm going to go play some games. Bye.